we got to talk about the death battle. We were all here for it yesterday. You know, we've had our 24 hours since the death battle. The internet has had its time to digest the death battle. And of course, people have their takes. Now, again, I'm going to lay all my cards on the table straight like I do, okay? Y'all are going to know going into this dialogue. You're going to know my biases and my lack thereof, okay? I prefer Chainsaw Man as a series up to a point. I think about halfway through part 2, it really fell off for me. There was a particular character that they killed about halfway through part 2 that we're not going to spoil. Sorry about the alarm. But there was a particular character that they killed off around the middle of part 2, and the series was like a downward spiral for me from there. But as a series, I prefer Chainsaw Man, okay? Additionally, you know, because a lot of the power scaling shit, to a degree, if we're keeping it a stack, especially when the verses are so close, like Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, when they're so close in power, a lot of times it does come down to which series people likes better. Let's keep it a stack. I know a lot of power scalers don't like to admit it, but if you like JJK, you're going to see this fight in a manner in which JJK wins. And if you like Chainsaw Man, you're going to see this fight in a manner in which Chainsaw Man wins. Now, my take on the death battle from a scaling perspective, you know, I kind of found this tweet that I think gives the gist of how I feel. You know what I mean? It gives the gist of how I feel about the fight and why I think Denji should have won. The dude, Kev, basically says the writing on that death battle was definitely clunky, but I also think CSM is inherently an anti-power scaling series. Nearly every fight, Denji is struggling against an enemy that outclasses him until he finds some batshit insane way to win. His real feat is being a slasher villain. I think this fight was low-key a setup when you take that angle, right? Because I agree with what bro had to say. Like, I do think this is genuinely... Chainsaw Man is not meant to really be power scaled, right? Chainsaw Man is like peak rule of cool. Fujimoto is going to write what he wants into that story if he thinks it's tough or if he thinks it's weird and whatever. The way it's written, especially compared to a series like Jujutsu Kaisen, which is, you know, you look at the way you look at the way Akutami writes, he is very explicitly like a power scaler to a degree, right? You can look at the way he writes, the way he kind of shoehorns statements into his writing, the things he uses his author's notes to talk about. Jujutsu Kaisen, to the best extent it can be as a battle shonen, is grounded. You know what I mean? It's very, for the most part, consistent with the rules that it sets. You read Chainsaw Man and you're like, okay, devils didn't work like that last time. Or, you know what I mean? A devil might have an effect that breaks pre-established rules. Denji might do some shit that breaks pre-established rules, so on and so forth. And so I think this matchup in and of itself was kind of a setup for the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. With that said, though, as I've, you know, scrolled through what people had to say and kind of learned some more about, you know, the angle that the Jujutsu Kaisen fans are coming with, you know what I mean? I got to understand both sides. And so we're going to talk about a little bit of that today too. But first off, we got to talk about they slandering my boy. They doing him Deku, bro. You know how they say Deku always squabbles street tears? Now they branding Denji with beginning of series slander, bro. They said this nigga can only go crazy on start of series MCs. All right, Denji voice. Give me more start of series characters. Tournament Deku, baby Goku, where are you? And I don't know if this is gonna stick with my, cause I done seen what they did to Deku, bruh. They got Deku like they genuinely, these niggas genuinely put a stain on Deku's reputation as if his own fan base didn't do enough of that in the mid 2010s. Niggas calling my GOAT the street tier demon. Now they're saying Denji. They're saying Denji only can beat down on beginning of series characters. Now, with this said, and we're going to get into it some more in a bit, there is apparently a dialogue to be opened about the version of Yuji that they used in the death battle. again, I'm anime only to the best extent I can be with Jujutsu Kaisen, meaning that I don't know much about Modulo, and I know a little bit about, you know, what's down the line. But from what I hear, and we're going to get into it some more in a bit, like I said, they apparently kind of hold the version of Yuji that they used. But there's slander coming from both sides, all right? We're still on slander analysis for now, all right? So the slander on the Chainsaw Man side, they're saying Denji can only take starter series characters. And the slander coming from the opposite side, they saying that nigga Yuji dropping black tickles, bruh. There ain't no more Black Flash. It's black tickles now, bruh. That boy Denji ate about 12 or 13 of them fucking flashes to the stomach. No injury. No pain. Nigga said he was chosen by the tickles of black. And so, yeah, that was a quick little slander analysis, you know, before we actually get into talking about the fight itself. This is what the two fan bases are throwing back and forth at each other. And so that's where we're at right now. And yeah, of course on TikTok they getting on his ass too. They said heartwarming scene. Yuji tickled Dory. Yuji tickled Dory, tickling his superior Denji to lighten up his mood. They got the they got the teddy bear sound effects for each Black Flash. I'm not gonna lie, the more I look back at it, they were kind of hoeing Yuji, bruh. I felt like they just had none of Denji's injuries stick, apart from maybe that one time that he split them in half. But they were kind of hoeing that nigga. To be fair though, I don't think Black Flash is really doing anything to Pochita / Denji Man. You know what I mean? And I remember they gave some super glaze scaling to Black Flash, bro. They were fucking around talking about Mach 930 something for Black Flash, which is like, all right, bro, let's be for real. But yeah, I think that's the last of the slander that we're going to talk about for now. Or is it? I don't remember the order I have these tabs in. But yeah, niggas calling him Yuji tickled Dory. So, you know, we got a fight between the start of series Demon and Yuji tickled Dory, who I guess was in some people's mind completely outclassed by Denji during this battle. And okay, they now Death Battle been catching some flack, and I want to talk about this scene right here. All right, the nigga said Death Battle genuinely just be doing anything. Did niggas done turned just into J-ass. We gotta talk about these younger Gen Zs, bro. Can we not let me chill. Death Battle genuinely just be doing anything but reading. A lot of people were mad at this scene right here, bro. I thought this shit was tough. The Pochita Raga, niggas were not fucking with Pochita Raga, bro. And I'm going to give my take on why this was actually a valid, quote unquote, like, I don't want to say feat, but why this scene right here was valid. All right. Aren't I Gen Z? Yeah, I'm Gen Z, but I'm 2001 Gen Z. There's a difference between Gen Z. Like, if you older than 2004, you really not like, you're not the same as me. You know what I mean? You're from a different era. That's all I can say. Post 2004 Gen Z, you're a little, you know what I mean? I'm looking at you kind of strange. But okay, about this scene right here, niggas were really hating on this scene. One of the most consistent things I saw in the Death Battle memes were niggas were frying Death Battle for this scene in particular. Now, part of it was because apparently they didn't get Yuji's domain right or something like that. I don't know. Again, I don't know too much about Yuji's domain. I thought it was like, you know, it was supposed to be a parallel to the Mahito shit, right? It was like, you know, Mahito and when the wolves and shit. And I was like, oh, okay, Denji must have built his domain around that experience. But apparently this shit just was not the domain, which we'll talk about some more later. But based on the death battle, I assume that he had some version of like some amped up version of Sukuna's domain or something like that, where he can like slice on at will and then like slice niggas up like this. And I do agree, this Pochita Raga shit was kind of glazed. But here's the reason why I accept Pochita Raga. Thank you for the sub, Mad. Here's the reason why I accept Pochita Raga, and I think if you're a JJK fan or a Chainsaw Man, you have to accept Pochita Raga, and here's why. These two series in particular, Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen, both animated by the same studio too, but these two series in particular benefit greatly from animator glaze. Well, like if we talk about the way niggas scale these series, these two series both benefit from the animators wanting to do some cool shit and niggas taking that as a feed. Thank you for the sub, Cloud. You know what I mean? I think a Chainsaw Man, first thing I'm thinking is, not Chainsaw Man. I think a JJK, first thing I'm thinking is like, they did a bunch of like expansions on the last season, but in season 2, that Sukuna versus Maharaga fight, they had that nigga Sukuna moving damn near like he was a Dragon Ball character, bro. They had that nigga Sukuna moving like he was ready to take on Clark Kent. Okay, I read the shit after the season was over. I went back and read the manga. He wasn't doing all that. He was not doing all that. He was not flying through the air like even Jogo. They was glazing and shit. And so like, and then you look at Chainsaw Man. You look at Chainsaw Man, right? You look at that last movie. The only reason Rize versus Bakugo is even a discussion, and we might have to react to that death battle too, because I never watched the death battle itself. So if y'all want me to react to that, let me know. But the only reason niggas even dare say that Rize can squabble with Big Bak is because the animators wanted to flex their muscles in the movie. They had that movie budget, and they was having her do some shit she did not do in the manga. They had her making multicolor rainbow nuke attacks. What is this? I'm watching the movie. I'm sitting there like, yo, this is fire, but this is not the Rize I was reading in that book. And so I think in the spirit of both Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen being shows that directly benefit from shit like this, the animators wanting to do cool shit that low-key kind of makes their characters more powerful. I think I said, I'm really angry. But I feel like in the spirit of both of these shows, you know, getting, I call it the artist glaze, bro, the animator glaze, the artistic glaze. I feel like in the spirit of both of these series benefiting from artist glaze, I can't be mad at this right here. Even if it is glazing Pochita's regeneration ability, which I think they did throughout the death battle in hindsight, because Denji wasn't drinking that much blood to fuel his regeneration. But I think in the spirit of both of these series, and I know this isn't a strict power scaling like argument right here. Again, I've been telling niggas I'm not a power scaler. I tried to do one Deku verse Gon video in 2020, and I stopped writing the script. That wasn't me. But I think in the spirit of both these shows, I'm not mad at this scene right here. This is one of my favorite scenes in the whole battle. It was just cool animation. One thing you can't say, regardless of the outcome, is that the animation was bad. I think especially if you grew up with Death Battle, seeing how far they've come in animation quality, that has been cool, bro. Because I remember it used to be straight sprite animation. All right, yeah. This dude, I pulled up this dude's TikTok because he was basically giving the gist of the JJK arguments. And this was like kind of what tapped me into how the JJK fans were feeling as someone who doesn't know as much about present day JJK.
He's actually Maharaga because he's clearly able to adapt to cleave and dismantle and not get a scratch on him. At what point are you guys gonna finally realize that death battles are just a bunch of larpers? Look, don't get this twisted because Denji Man beats Shinjuku Yuji,
but he doesn't beat Modulo Yuji.
All right, so I don't know. I didn't know much about Modulo Yuji. You feel me? I never read Modulo. I seen the screenshots. Only screenshots I really seen of Modulo Yuji was this nigga wearing a hood like he was in New York. Nigga in a Nike tech farming for clout. I don't even think I've seen Modulo Yuji's face. I think I might have seen it in that animated trailer they dropped. But what this guy is saying right here is a lot of what I hear coming from the JJK side of things, right? They call in death battle LARPers, which like, can we retire that word? Please. Like I'm begging y'all, bro. I've accepted aura. All right, I'm Unk, bro. I hate when niggas bring up new buzzwords because it makes me feel like Unk. First of all, as someone who had hobbies that were adjacent to actual LARPing, seeing the degradation of the word LARP in real time has been crazy. But LARPing in general, and obviously this just pissed me off because niggas be in my comments. Niggas will say you LARP for anything. I will genuinely not know something. And you know what I mean? I'm gonna come on here and tell y'all when I don't know something. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm not gonna come on here. Imagine if I came on here acting like I knew what happened at the end of JJK and then tried to argue it like that. I'm gonna tell y'all I'm not gamed into Modulo Yuji. But niggas will call me a LARPer for genuinely not knowing. No, nigga, I just don't have the information. Niggas can't learn no more? All right, bruh. Niggas gotta spawn in with all the knowledge, bruh. We don't learn no more. But yeah, I in general though, the buzzword is so you niggas, it's those younger Gen Z. It's those younger Gen Z niggas. I'm trying to tell you, those 2005 and ups. It's those 2005 and ups. We gotta watch out for them. Nigga said I was LARPing in my slime video. I can't even read my comments because niggas spoil for no reason, bro. Nigga, I got an invincible spoiler on a slime video. How does that work? But nigga said I was LARPing on the slime video because I theorized about a show I hadn't watched yet. What? Anywho, I'm off my what you call it, my soapbox. Let's get back to it.
Issue with this death battle was that they lowballed everything for Yuji.
Okay, and this was the argument. Like the crux of the JJK fans' argument was that Yuji was super lowballed and wasn't given his final form. Denji was super highballed and given his final form. And so we're gonna interrogate that train of thought a bit more. All right. So first things first, right? And this is another another meme I found of the organ shit. And again, this meme just illustrates you can't really take, like, you can't throw Chainsaw Man into power scaling arguments, bro. Nigga tanked organ. What does that even mean? How do you calculate that? How do you reliably calculate that, bro? It's rule of cool. You think Fujimoto was sitting there? You think that nigga looked up? All right. Population of organ. Weight of the body of land that, no, bro. He picked organ, which honestly, if he was really going rule of cool, why the fuck did he pick organ? What's an organ? Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Let's move on. So, all right, let's interrogate the things that people are saying Death Battle got wrong. All right, so first off, we have to open a dialogue on the domains. They're saying Yuji's domain was just entirely false. Like completely and utter, that it just wasn't the domain. They said they made Yuji's domain the snowy forest and you expect us to take this seriously. Now, me coming into this, I don't know the end of series spoilers. I know he has a domain. I don't know how it works. I just took this at face value. I thought it made sense. I thought it tied into the Mahito fight. I was like, oh, okay, his domain is probably like Sukuna's, just modeled after, the Mahito forest. Cool. But I'm not gonna lie. Even as a Chainsaw Man fan, I keep the cheetah on me. But even as a Chainsaw Man fan who was happy with the outcome, I feel like misrepresenting like the pinnacle of Yuji's power gotta be crazy, bro. Like, and I don't, again, like I said, I don't normally care about scaling stuff, but like, if we're saying, a domain is the peak of a sorcerer's power, right? This is his big special move that he pops before he wins or loses. You know what I mean? And you're going to misrepresent it. It's like, okay. And it's not like, I don't think the way Death Battle, they show that they research generally well. I think they end up with some wonky calcs like 900, what was it? Mach 900 black flashes. But like story-wise, they seem to get the stories well. Like I understood the progression of part 2. Granted, I dropped part 2 of Chainsaw Man after you know who died. But the progression of the story felt better when they explained it than when I was reading it and what other people had told me. So it's not like they're dumb and they can't read these stories. Like I feel like they are genuinely good with research and shit like that for the most part. But, Yeah, getting the whole domain wrong, that is kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy. If I was a JJK fan, I'm starting to understand where the JJK fans are coming from. All right. Another thing was this screenshot right here. They use modulo Yuji scaling, bro. Just accept he lost. The shit actual modulo Yuji was doing and not whoever these bums were using. Now, I'm assuming modulo Yuji, I think they pulled up this screenshot in the video. This looks familiar. I'm assuming this is modulo Yuji. I'm assuming this is whoever he was fighting, probably Dabura or some shit, right? I know that's the name of the villain from Modulo. And I don't know what the fuck this shit around him is. Like, I gotta get close. Yeah, like, I don't really know what I'm looking at. I see a city in the background. And then I just see a big ass sphere that got, like, sliced into little cubes. Right? Now they did have Yuji using his slashes in the death battle, which I think is valid. I think is fair. But I didn't see nothing on this level. I didn't see nothing on this level. I didn't see like, and granted, this could be, again, artistic glaze, you know? Artistic glaze is a thing. All without his hands. He does have his hands in his pocket too. So, you know, this is making me think this is probably like a low tier sort of ability. You know what I mean? Like hands in the pockets. What that communicates to me as a reader is that he's not even trying right here, right? He's just, you know what I mean? Brrr, whole world going stupid around him, getting chopped up in his hands in his pockets. Now, I did not personally in the death battle. He fought most of Modulo with his hands in his pockets. That's tough. That's tough. I'm not going to hold you. Now, I did not get this. I thought he was more powerful than where I see him currently in the manga. I mean, the anime, obviously, because he had the slashes and he had, you know, blood and all these abilities that he doesn't have in the anime yet. That I guess he gains throughout the progression of the rest of the story. But I don't think I don't think this level of raw power was communicated, right? And so I'm watching this video thinking I'm looking at the peak of Yuji. However, I don't know if they did as good a job as they could have with communicating this. You know what I mean? Just this sort of overwhelming slash ability that he has that he can kind of effortlessly use. I don't even think he used the slash ability like remotely. I think he was doing a lot of pointing and stuff like that. Now, with that said, right, to be entirely fair, I don't know how much of an effect this would have had on the fight itself. You know what I'm saying? Denji is, you know, he's kind of a slash attack hard counterer, right? His whole thing is regenerating. And like I said earlier, I do think they could have did better with, you know what I mean, at least having Denji drink some blood. They did kind of just give him like a passive insta regen where like, yeah, that's how it works in Chainsaw Man, but only up to a point, right? Excuse me. The characters can run out of blood, and I don't think that was really accounted for. But again, if I was a JJK fan and, you know, this is what I'm familiar with, and then I see the death battle and the showing that I saw from Yuji wasn't, you know, they didn't even really give him one attack that was on this level. Okay, fair. I can see where the frustration comes from. Personally, in my mind, that doesn't change where I think the results can be, but I can see the frustration. I can. Hold on. Okay, this right here, this scene right here. So people were taking issue with this scene too. All right, they said, how is Yuji gonna fall for the oldest trick in the book? Not once, but twice. He really thought Denji could use piercing blood and domain expansion. And they talk about these scenes right here. All right, they talk about Denji faking the piercing blood into the balls kick, and yeah, the domain expansion fake out into the kick. Now, I'm not gonna lie, okay? And I know this niggas not gonna like this take. This isn't This wouldn't be considered a sound take to power scalers, but I don't care. Again, I've always been a narrative nigga. I've always been a narrative nigga, all right? I care more about how the fight is written to an extent. Obviously, it's death battle, right? It is like the core concept is power scaling. But for me, I think you gotta throw sprinkles of narrative in there as well. And I think narratively, the way Denji fights and the things that Yuji has to be prepared for, these moments make sense to me. Denji is always pulling some hoe ass bullshit, bro. He always pulling some sneaky shit, some role playing shit. Like he's constantly on bullshit, bro. He's such a bullshitter. I can 100% see him faking a domain expansion or a piercing blood. And I think Yuji, based on the world that he fights in, you kind of got to be prepared for some bullshit. I think this narratively fits both of the series, right? One, Chainsaw Man in like a comedic manner, you know what I mean? The Denji bullshit, whatever. But I low-key think it fits Jujutsu Kaisen too, in the theme and sort of the repeated sentiment that, like, you know, the best sorcerers are the snakes and the liars and the ones who can fool you. You know what I mean? Arguably, one of Yuji's biggest flaws, can I click on Frederica? This is niggas' problem. They see one anime girl under here and they start getting distracted. But anywho, like, I do think this narratively fits both series, you know what I mean? Where, like, Denji would make a decent sorcerer. Like, okay, the argument that Yuji's weakness as a sorcerer is his genuineness. You know what I mean? Like it's a flaw. It's been a proven flaw, right, through the Higuruma fight, that Yuji's one of his big sorcerer flaws is that he can't lie. He's a genuine dude. He's a good dude, and that stops him from taking advantage of people in a way that would benefit sorcerers. I think Denji is the opposite. You know what I mean? He's meant to be a very flawed character. And one of the ways that shows up is him being a fucking liar, you know, him being a bullshitter. And so I do think even if this was a weird sort of goofy comedy moment, I do think it hits the core. I think it hits something narratively where it's like, I think Denji does have a slight advantage over Yuji if we're looking at it from a sorcerer perspective in terms of being able to be a bullshitter and, you know, bullshit and think outside the box, so on and so forth. Now, was it glaze? Probably. A little bit. But I see why it was written into there, and I can't say I'm mad at it. You know? I know niggas might not like that. Maybe it's my Chainsaw Man glaze coming out. I can't say I'm mad at it. I thought those were some of the funnest. Funnest is a word, yeah. I thought those were some of the most fun moments in the whole animation. Okay, more slander because I thought it was funny. Yuji slams Denji. Denji watching in horror as Modulo Yuji gets reduced to how Modulo goes down. But knowing Gege Akutami, I think one of Akutami's biggest flaws is a lot of times he could be a tell, don't show sort of nigga. You know what I mean? We get a lot of statements of niggas being able to do this and do that we never really see. If the statement devil was eaten, like, I don't know if Modulo Yuji was one of those characters we don't even see fighting like that, and we just get a bunch of statements of his strength from other characters. You know what I'm saying? Like in my head, when I see this meme, I imagine like a Gojo situation where people are, you know, it's what was the year? 2086. And people are gassing up Modulo Yuji as the strongest and whatever. And so I guess Modulo Yuji is a statement, a statement heavy character or something like that. I don't really know what niggas was getting at. I don't really know what niggas was getting at here, but I found it funny, you know? Oh yeah, I wanted to pull up some comments I wanted to open a quick dialogue on some of the comments from the video, some of the shit that y'all had to say. So the most liked comment was this one right here. My favorite thing to come from this death battle is the tweet saying that Denji's new greatest feat is making the JJK fans learn to read so they can debunk death battle. We all know that JJK niggas don't read meme. I'm not gonna lie. They would have fooled me after this death battle. Niggas seem they seem very in tune with their own story after this death battle, bro. I seen niggas pulling out feats too quickly. Niggas had to actually read their manga. I respect it. I respect it. And the last thing we have to talk about, the last thing we have to open the dialogue is on this right here. All right. Nigga, timestamp the video 22:43. Nobody thought this. It's just you, gang. Let's see what he's talking about. I feel like we all thought this devil was kind of fine, like when we first. Niggas have been frying my leech devil take, and it's time that we open a dialogue on this because I came to circle back and stand on this take. Listen. Yeah, niggas thought I was done. No, it's just the beginning. Listen. We have entered an era. No, I'm not stopping, bro. I'm not stopping. We have entered an era where niggas say, hear me out for the most sorry shit. All right? Niggas got the most sorry hear me outs. Let me full screen this. Niggas will say, hey, bruh, hear me out about that. Hear me out, Mirko. I dead seen a nigga say, hear me out, Mirko, because she got bunny ears and a tail. Mirko is an attractive human woman with bunny ears and a tail glued to her head, like design-wise, and tail glued to her back. If niggas are going to come with the hear me outs, then there needs to be a challenge. Okay, the point of a hear me out is to challenge preconceived notions of attractiveness, of beauty. It's an artistic endeavor to really find a hear me out. Now, when you see the leech devil, you may not immediately think you know what? We're closing the dialogue here.